For years, we have watched in absolute horror as the most terrifying mother in law in reality TV history systematically dismantled a relationship. We have seen the screaming matches, the threats of suicide, the sheer, unadulterated hatred burning in her eyes. Sumit's mother, Sadhna, isn't just a strict parent, she has been painted as a villain of Shakespearean proportions, a woman so obsessed with tradition and control that she would rather destroy her son's happiness than let him marry Jenny. We all remember the scene that is burned into our retinas, the nose flossing, that visceral, invasive, deeply uncomfortable moment that seemed designed to humiliate Jenny on a global stage. We watched that and we thought, this is real, raw, toxic dysfunction. But what if we were wrong? What if the woman we love to hate is actually the greatest actress of our generation? A new explosive theory backed by insider reports suggests that Sadhna isn't the villain at all. She is the director. What if the most toxic relationship on reality TV is actually a carefully choreographed performance by a family of actors who are laughing all the way to the bank? We are talking about a conspiracy so deep it changes everything you thought you knew about Sumit and Jenny. We are looking at the Sadhna Script. Before we crack open the financial records and the leaked details that TLC absolutely does not want you to see, take a second to hit that like button if you suspect we aren't getting the full truth. If you want to stay ahead of the narrative and uncover the dark secrets of reality TV, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with notifications on. You do not want to miss what is coming next. Let's go back to the beginning. To understand the magnitude of this potential fraud, we have to look at the performance itself. And yes, I am calling it a performance. Think about the most iconic Sadhna moments. The nose flossing scene wasn't just gross, it was cinematic. It was a perfect visual metaphor for her intrusion into their lives. Ask yourself, does a traditional, conservative Indian mother really perform a hygiene ritual like that in front of a camera crew under bright lights, knowing millions of Americans are watching? Or does that look like a scene designed to go viral? It's almost too perfect. It checks every box for shock value. And then there are the suicide threats. Every time Sumit gets close to independence, Sadhna drops the ultimate emotional nuke, threatening to end her own life. It is the darkest form of manipulation. But look at the timing. These threats always happen right before a commercial break or right at the climax of a season. It is dramatic pacing that rivals a scripted soap opera. We have spent so much time feeling bad for Jenny that we never stop to ask if Jenny is in on the joke. We have recently received information from what we will call an anonymous source, someone who claims to have worked on the production logistics for the show's filming in India. This insider has dropped a bombshell that completely reframes the financial reality of this family. The narrative we are sold is that Sumit is struggling, that he has to ask his parents for permission, that money is tight, and that Jenny is living on her meager social security in a chaotic environment. But this source alleges that the checks from TLC, the money that is supposed to go to the couples, are not being deposited into a simple personal account for Sumit. Allegedly, there is a complex financial structure in place. We are hearing whispers of a joint family trust managed directly by Anil and Sadhna. This isn't just about a paycheck. This is a business enterprise. If these reports are true, the poor family narrative is a complete fabrication. While we watch them argue in what looks like a modest, sometimes dilapidated home setting, reports suggest that funds from this trust are being funneled into real estate. We are talking about a luxury property allegedly being built in a developing suburb of a nearby city, far away from the cameras. Imagine the irony. We are sitting here crying for Jenny, thinking she is trapped in a dusty house with no resources, while the family might be using the villain Sadhna revenue to build a mansion. It makes you wonder, why does Sadhna hate Jenny so much? Maybe she doesn't. Maybe Jenny is the most profitable asset this family has ever acquired. If the money is pooled, then Jenny's presence and the conflict she brings is the golden goose. Sadhna's screaming isn't anger, it's a negotiation for a higher paycheck. The louder she screams, the higher the ratings. The higher the ratings, the bigger the deposit into the family trust. This brings us to the green room leak. This is where the story gets truly wild. In reality TV, there is a concept called the green room, usually a metaphorical space where the cast relaxes between takes, but sometimes it is a literal tent or a blocked-off room in the house. A rumor has been circulating on deep dive forums from a user claiming to have access to lost footage or B-roll that was never meant to make the final cut. This footage supposedly captures a moment between setups. The cameras were rolling, but the scene hadn't started. The description of this footage is chilling. It allegedly shows Sadhna and Jenny sitting at a small table, not arguing, not crying, but sharing chai. And they aren't just sitting in silence, they are laughing. The report claims that Sadhna is seen miming a crying face and then breaking into a smile, pointing at Jenny as if to say, "Was that good?" Jenny is seen nodding, looking completely relaxed, a stark contrast to the terrified victim we see on screen. If this footage exists, it is the smoking gun. It implies that the hostility drops the second the director yells, "Cut." It suggests that the hatred is a costume they put on. Think about the psychological toll it takes to be hated by your mother-in-law for a decade. Jenny looks tired, sure, but does she look broken? Or does she look like a woman who is tired from a long day of work? Because that is what this is. It's work. They are co-workers. The green room leak supports the theory that their relationship is professional, not personal. They have chemistry, but it's the chemistry of a comedy duo. The straight man and the chaotic antagonist. Sadhna provides the chaos, Jenny provides the reaction, and the checks are clear. And let's look deeper into the background of Sumit's parents. The show presents them as traditional, old-school Indian parents who are baffled by the modern world and their son's choices. But is that who they really are? Internet sleuths have been digging into local casting calls and agency databases in New Delhi and Mumbai. There is a persistent rumor, supported by screenshots that have surfaced and then quickly vanished from the internet, suggesting that Anil and Sadhna have profiles on local casting websites. These profiles allegedly list them as available for extra work, commercials, and character roles in Bollywood productions. The traditional values persona might just be a character breakdown they mastered years ago. If they are aspiring actors, or at least people familiar with the industry, then 90 Day Fiancé isn't a documentary of their lives. It is their big break. It explains why they are so comfortable in front of the camera. Most regular parents freeze up, they look awkward, they glance at the lens. Sadhna never looks at the lens, she looks right through Jenny. That is a distinct trained focus. That is performance. This leads us to the ultimate betrayal, a theory so dark it turns the entire show on its head. The narrative has always been that Sumit and Jenny are the victims of his parents' archaic mindset. We pity them. We root for them to overcome the obstacles. But what if Sumit and Jenny aren't victims? What if they are employees? Consider the delay in marriage. This has been the central conflict for season after season. The astrologer says, "Wait, the mother threatens suicide. The divorce papers are delayed. There is always a reason why they cannot get married. We are told it's destiny or bad luck or cultural pressure." But let's look at it through the lens of a business contract. In the world of reality TV, a married couple is boring. A happy couple is a canceled couple. The tension lies in the will they or won't they. If Sumit and Jenny get married, the story ends. The paycheck stops. The Sadhna Script theorizes that the delay in marriage wasn't about the alignment of the stars. It was about the alignment of the contracts for season 8, season 9, and beyond. Every time there was a delay, notice how it coincided with a renewal of the show. The astrologer, who advised them to wait? What if he was just a paid actor delivering a plot device to stretch the storyline for another 10 episodes? It is a manufactured stall tactic. This recontextualizes Sumit's behavior entirely. We've often called him a coward, a man who can't stand up to his mommy. But if this theory holds water, he isn't a coward. He's a producer. He is managing the timeline to maximize the family's exposure. He knows that if he stands up to Sadhna too early, the show is over. He has to play the conflicted son to keep the drama alive. And Jenny? She plays the martyr. She cries about wanting to get married, but she never leaves. She never packs her bags and goes back to America for good. Why? Because she is under contract. She knows the marriage can't happen until the series finale or until they secure a spin-off. They are trapping us in a loop of misery because misery sells, and they are the top salespeople in the company. Let's dig into the specific mechanics of the suicide threat scenes. This is a sensitive topic, and it is usually where viewers draw the line. It feels too real, but analyze the camera angles. When Sadhna threatens to kill herself, the cameras are always perfectly positioned to catch the reaction of everyone in the room. There is no scrambling. The cameramen don't put the cameras down to intervene, which is what usually happens in a genuine emergency on a documentary set. Instead, they zoom in. They catch the tears. They catch the trembling hands. This implies premeditation. The crew knew it was coming. It suggests that this was on the call sheet for the day. Scene 4, Sadhna threatens extreme measures. Location, living room. Time, 2 p.m. The emotional abuse that we are witnessing is actually a scripted beat, rehearsed and executed with precision. And think about the neighbors. In a dense neighborhood in India, loud screaming matches attract attention. People come out to their balconies, crowds gather, yet in these scenes, the world outside seems strangely silent. We rarely see neighbors interfering or even looking curious. Why? Because the production likely permits the location. They probably have the street locked down. It's a closed set. The reality is a bubble created for our consumption. There is also the matter of the translator app. How many times have we seen Jenny and Sadhna communicate through that broken translation app? It adds to the frustration and the alienation. But reports suggest that Sadhna speaks better English than she lets on. There are clips from early seasons where she seems to understand Jenny perfectly without the app, reacting before the translation is even read out loud. Why the app? Because it creates a barrier. It creates a delay. It emphasizes the foreigner versus traditionalist conflict. It is a prop. Just like the nose flossing thread was a prop, just like the chai is a prop. If Sadhna speaks English, then every scene where they struggle to communicate is a lie. It is an improv exercise designed to make you feel frustrated. We have to talk about the consultant theory. This is a branch of the Sadhna Script that suggests the family has hired a PR consultant or a script doctor to help them craft these scenarios. Some eagle-eyed viewers have noticed that the plot points in Sumit's storyline often mirror popular Bollywood soap opera tropes: the disapproving mother, the secret romance, the threat of self-harm, the societal shame. It is almost too generic, too stereotypical. This doesn't happen by accident. Someone is writing this, whether it is Sadhna herself, pulling from her alleged acting aspirations, or a third party guiding them. The narrative arc is structured. Real life is messy and boring. Real life doesn't have cliffhangers every 12 minutes. Sumit's life is nothing but cliffhangers. Let's circle back to the money, because that is the engine driving this machine. If the family trust exists, it explains why Anil, the father, is so quiet. He is the treasurer. He watches Sadhna perform, he watches Sumit take the heat, and he manages the assets. He is the silent partner in the firm. His occasional interventions are just enough to remind us he is there, but he never truly stops Sadhna. Why would he? She is the star. She is the rainmaker. Stopping her would be like firing the lead actor of a hit show. He enables her not because he is weak, but because he is smart. He knows the game. When we consider the Sadhna script, we have to ask ourselves about the end game. What is the exit strategy for this family? If they are building a luxury property, as the rumors suggest, they are planning for a life after the show. A life of comfort built on the foundation of a fake feud. They are harvesting our outrage. Every angry comment we leave, every time we share a clip of Sadhna being cruel, we are putting a brick in their new wall. We are the investors in their real estate project. They have successfully hacked the engagement algorithm by becoming the most polarizing family on the network. We need to talk about the house. The house on TV is a character itself. It is cramped, it is chaotic, the kitchen is a battleground, and the walls seem to close in on Jenny every single season. It paints a picture of a lower middle class struggle, a family trying to make ends meet while dealing with the burden of a foreign daughter-in-law who cannot contribute financially. But if we pull the thread provided by our insider source regarding the joint family trust, the house becomes a set. It becomes a costume. Reports have surfaced on localized real estate forums, threads that are often deleted as quickly as they appear, suggesting that a purchase was made in Anil's name for a plot of land in a rapidly developing, affluent sector of Gurgaon. We are not talking about a fixer-upper. We are talking about a pre-construction investment in a gated community, the kind of place with security guards, manicured lawns, and zero tolerance for screaming matches in the driveway. If this property exists, and if the timeline of the payments aligns with the airing of the spin-offs, then the house we see on 90 Day Fiancé is essentially a poverty simulation maintained for the aesthetic of the show. Why? Because a wealthy Sumit doesn't garner sympathy. A comfortable Jenny doesn't seem trapped. If they were filming in a marble-floored condo with air conditioning and a maid, the stakes would vanish. The struggle is the product. And who is the architect of this struggle? It is Sadhna. She knows that to sell the story of the disapproving traditional mother, the setting must match the narrative. She needs the peeling paint. She needs the cramped quarters because physical proximity breeds conflict. You cannot have a nose flossing scene if you have 3 bathrooms. You need 1 sink. You need 1 mirror. You need to force the actors into the same frame to create the combustion. Now let's dig deeper into the anonymous source from production. This isn't just someone who held a boom mic, this is allegedly someone involved in the location management and payroll logistics. This source claims that the negotiations for Sumit and Jenny's return seasons were not handled by Sumit, but were heavily influenced by Anil, with Sadhna whispering in his ear. The claim is that they negotiated a family package. Usually, the American cast member gets the check, and the foreign partner gets nothing until they have a work permit. That is the standard TLC rule. But in India, the labor laws are different, and the contracts can be structured differently. If the checks are going to a trusted Indian entity, the parents, then Jenny is effectively working for them. This creates a power dynamic that is entirely different from what we see on screen. On screen, Jenny is the intruder. In reality, she might be the star employee. Think about the implications of that. If Jenny is receiving her payout through the family trust, then she is financially incentivized to stay in the abusive dynamic. It explains why she never truly fights back. Have you ever noticed that Jenny's defenses are always passive? She cries, she walks away, she pleads. She never goes scorched earth. A woman pushed to the brink for 10 years would eventually snap. She would scream back, she would throw things, but Jenny maintains a level of restraint that feels directed. She knows her lines. She knows her mark. She knows that if she pushes back too hard, she breaks the villain's rhythm. She is the perfect sparring partner because she takes the punch but never throws a knockout blow. That is a professional relationship. Let's pivot to the casting call evidence. We touched on this, but the rabbit hole goes so much deeper. In the early 2000s, the Indian entertainment industry was booming with the rise of satellite TV. Thousands of aspiring actors flooded casting agencies in Delhi and Mumbai. A deep dive investigation by a dedicated group of Reddit sleuths who have since had their subreddit quarantined uncovered cached pages from a defunct casting website called Star Talent India. On a page dated from 2008, there is a headshot. It is grainy, it is black and white, but the eyes are unmistakable. It is a younger Sadhna. The profile lists her special skills as emotional range, crying on cue, and classical dance. Let that sink in. Crying on cue. We have watched this woman burst into tears at the drop of a hat, usually when Sumit tries to assert a boundary. We thought it was emotional manipulation. It might just be a special skill listed on her resume. If Sadhna has been trying to break into the industry for decades, 90 Day Fiancé is her magnum opus. It is the role she was born to play. She isn't just a mother, she is playing the archetype of the evil mother-in-law, a staple character in Indian soap operas known as Sas Bahu dramas. She is leaning into the trope because she knows it plays well not just to American audiences, but to the Indian diaspora watching globally. She is giving a masterclass in melodrama. And what about Anil? The casting profile theory suggests he had one too, listing him for dignified father and silent observer roles. This recontextualizes his entire presence. He isn't a passive husband, he is a supporting actor. He delivers the exposition. He explains the cultural context to the camera, often translating Sadhna's rage into palpable sentences for the audience. He is the narrator of the Sadhna Script. Without him, Sadhna is just noise. With him, she is a plot point. They are a double act. This brings us to a specific scene that supports the director theory, the kitchen scene. Watch it again. Sadhna is criticizing Jenny's cooking and cleaning. She takes the broom. She demonstrates aggressively. The camera movements in this scene are incredibly sophisticated. As Sadhna sweeps, the camera tracks her perfectly. When she stops to yell, the focus pulls sharply to Jenny's reaction. This requires blocking. In a documentary, you catch what you can. In a scripted drama, you rehearse the movement. Okay, Sadhna, you sweep left, then turn to camera B and scream. The fluidity of the camera work in the most chaotic moments suggests that the chaos is choreographed. They know where to stand to get the best lighting on their tears. And we have to discuss the green room leak in more detail. The rumor of the lost footage includes audio. Allegedly, there is a hot mic moment. A lapel mic was left on after a particularly brutal scene where Sadhna told Jenny she would never accept her. The director yells cut. There is a shuffling of noise and then a voice that sounds exactly like Sadhna's says, in Hindi, "Did I go too hard? I can tone it down." And then a voice that sounds like Sumit replies, "No, it was good. The producer loved it. Keep the energy up for the next take." If this audio is real, and we must stress it is, it confirms that the abuse is calibrated. Did I go too hard? asks the woman who just told her son she would commit suicide if he married the love of his life. That is not the question of a desperate mother. That is the question of a performer concerned about the rating of the scene. It suggests a level of self-awareness that completely contradicts the character she plays. She knows she is being a villain, and she is measuring her villainy against the production's needs. This leads us to the astrologer conspiracy. The astrologer Khalid. He is the deus ex machina of the show. Every time the couple gets close to a resolution, Khalid steps in with a celestial roadblock. The stars are not right. Wait 6 months. Perform a cow ritual. Have we ever looked into Khalid's credentials? Or is it possible that Khalid is simply a friend of the family, or perhaps a local actor hired for day work? The timing of his interventions is suspicious. He never says, "Get married tomorrow." He always gives a timeline that conveniently stretches the plot into the next filming block. Consider the passport incident. When Jenny's visa is about to expire, the tension hits a fever pitch. She has to leave. The relationship is doomed. But then, at the last second, a loophole is found, a border run is arranged, an extension is granted. This is classic TV writing, the ticking clock. If this were real life, Jenny, who has been traveling to India for a decade, would know the visa laws inside and out. She isn't naive. The visa panic is likely a manufactured storyline to add urgency to a season that is otherwise just people sitting in a living room drinking tea. Sumit and Jenny likely have a team of immigration lawyers paid for by the network, ensuring she never actually gets deported, but the threat of deportation keeps us watching. Now let's talk about the neighbors again. We mentioned the silence of the street, but there is another layer. A Reddit user claiming to live in the same district as the illusionary Sumit's house posted a thread titled, "My neighbors are reality TV stars." The user claimed that when the cameras aren't rolling, the house is completely different. They claim to see caterers. Yes, caterers. Food trucks pull up to feed the crew and the family. The user alleged that they saw Sadhna and Jenny eating from the same buffet line, laughing, sharing food, and discussing the news. No tension, no screaming, just two women on a lunch break. The user's post was deleted within hours, supposedly for doxing, but many believe it was a copyright strike from the production company trying to protect the kayfabe. The kayfabe, a wrestling term for maintaining the illusion that the staged performance is real. Sadhna is the ultimate pro wrestler of TLC. She stays in character when the red light is on, but she breaks bread with her opponent when the bell rings. The financial paper trail also hints at a brand deal strategy. Have you noticed the clothing? In early seasons, it was generic. Lately, Sumit and Jenny are wearing slightly more coordinated outfits. There are rumors that they are quietly launching a clothing line or an import-export business for Indian textiles, using the show as a massive free commercial. Sadhna's traditional saris are iconic. People talk about them. If they launch a Sadhna collection, they will sell out in minutes. The villain branding is lucrative. Disney sells as much Darth Vader merchandise as they do Luke Skywalker. Sadhna knows that hate watching is still watching. She is building a brand of infamy. Let's look at the ultimate betrayal from the perspective of Sumit's friends. We see them occasionally acting as a Greek chorus, warning Sumit, telling him he is making a mistake. But who are these friends? They are young, camera-ready, and articulate. They ask the questions the audience is thinking. Sumit, why are you doing this? Sumit, think of your mother. They are plot devices. In a real friendship, after 10 years of this drama, your friends would stop showing up. They would get tired of the same conversation. But these friends appear exactly when the plot needs a reset. They are likely cast friends, or at least friends who are being fed lines by the producers to steer the conversation back to the central conflict. There is a theory called the sunk cost fallacy which keeps viewers hooked. We have invested years watching them, so we feel we need to see the end. Sadhna and the producers weaponize this. They give us tiny crumbs of hope, a nice dinner, a moment of peace, only to snatch it away with a nose floss or a suicide threat. This is intermittent reinforcement, a psychological tactic used in gambling to keep players at the table. Sadhna is the dealer. She controls the flow of dopamine. She decides when we get a win and when we get a loss. And we keep watching because we want to see her lose. We want to see Jenny win. But in the Sadhna script, Jenny has already won. She is living an adventurous life. She is famous. She is likely paid well. And she is part of a production team that has cracked the code of viral reality TV. The most damning piece of evidence for the Sadhna script might be the smiling photos. Occasionally on social media, before they are scrubbed, a photo leaks of the whole family at a festival or a dinner. In these photos, everyone is smiling. Sadhna has her arm around Jenny. Anil is laughing. Sumit looks relaxed. The captions are usually generic, but the body language tells the truth. You cannot fake that kind of physical ease. If you hate someone, If they have ruined your life, you do not lean into them for a selfie. You do not share a frame comfortably. These photos are the glitches in the matrix. They show us the reality that exists behind the edit. They show us a family that is united, not by blood, but by business. We also have to consider the health scares. Whenever the drama lulls, someone gets sick. Sadhna has high blood pressure. Sumit has a stomach issue. Jenny falls down. These health scares reset the sympathy meter. Suddenly, the arguments stop, and everyone is concerned. It is a convenient narrative reset button. We can't fight, mom is sick. It buys them another 3 episodes of peace before the war starts again. It is classic soap opera pacing. And who is the one usually suffering the ailment? Sadhna, the center of the universe. And what about the catfish element? Remember, this whole story started with Sumit catfishing Jenny. He lied about who he was. He is a professional liar. He admitted it. He built a persona to hook her. Why do we think he stopped? Why do we think the lying ended when the cameras turned on? Maybe the catfishing just evolved. Maybe he isn't catfishing Jenny anymore. Maybe he and his family are catfishing the world. He is playing the role of Sumit, the conflicted lover. Sadhna is playing Sadhna, the tiger mom. Jenny is playing Jenny, the naive American. It is a role-playing game that got out of hand and became a multi-million-dollar franchise. As we move into the final act of this theory, we have to ask ourselves, if this is all true, if the nose flossing was staged, if the suicide threats are scripted, and if the money is pooled into a family trust, are we the victims? We are the ones stressing out. We are the ones writing angry tweets. We are the ones feeling secondhand embarrassment. Meanwhile, Sadhna is allegedly sitting in her new garden, sipping tea, checking the ratings, and laughing at how easily we bought the ticket to her show. We are now approaching the endgame of the Sadhna Script, and the implications are terrifying. If we accept the premise that this is a family business, we have to look at the contract renewal cycle. Every reality TV star knows that job security depends on conflict. Resolution is the enemy of a paycheck. If Sadhna accepted Jenny in season 1, the show would have been canceled by season 2. There is no show without the barrier, therefore the barrier must be artificial. The family understands that their financial survival depends on Sadhna staying angry. This isn't just stubbornness, it is a business model. They are effectively holding their own happiness hostage for a ransom paid by the network, and we, the viewers, are the ones paying the ransom with our attention. Let's talk about the fan interactions. This is where the mask slips in public. There have been reports scattered across travel blogs and Instagram comments of tourists spotting Sumit and Jenny in markets in India. In almost every account, the observer notes how normal they look. They aren't looking over their shoulders. They aren't hiding. One report from a backpacker in New Delhi claimed they saw Sumit and his father, Anil, laughing hysterically at a coffee shop, looking at a phone screen. When the fan approached, the laughter stopped instantly. They shifted. Anil went silent. Sumit put on a polite, weary smile. It was a physical transformation. The fan described it as watching a light switch flip. They went from happy father and son to oppressed reality stars in a microsecond. Why? Because they know the brand. They know that if a photo leaks of them looking too happy, it ruins the narrative of the upcoming season. They are always on the clock. This leads us to the editing room conspiracy. We often blame the editors for frank biting or splicing clips to make people look bad. But what if the editors are actually the family's biggest accomplices? The Sadhna Script theory posits that the family provides the raw material, the screaming, the tears, the nose flossing, and they trust the editors to assemble it into a coherent villain arc. It's a symbiotic relationship. The network gets a villain and the family gets a legacy. We have to wonder if there are notes sessions. Does Sadhna watch the dailies? Does she say, I didn't look angry enough in that take, let's reshoot the kitchen fight? The level of continuity in her rage suggests a professional feedback loop. She is getting better at being bad. In the early seasons, she was just strict. Now, she is a caricature of evil. That is character development, scripted and refined over time. And what about the legal angle? This is where the theory gets dangerous. If the financial paper trail is real, if the checks are indeed going to a trust to circumvent visa work restrictions or to hide assets, we are looking at something far more serious than fake tears. We are looking at potential fraud. If they are presenting a false narrative to immigration authorities to justify visa extensions, or if they are misrepresenting their income to tax bodies by funneling it through a family trust, this is a crime. But here's the twist. TLC likely knows the network isn't a victim of the scam. They are the distributors. They are selling us a product labeled reality, but the ingredients are 100% artificial. The Sadhna Script protects everyone. As long as the audience believes the lie, the legal gray areas stay in the dark. Let's re-examine the Astrologer one last time. In a recent season, the Astrologer told Sumit he could not marry yet. The camera zoomed in on Sadhna's face. She didn't look relieved, she looked satisfied. It was a look of mission accomplished. It was the look of a producer who just secured financing for another year. If the astrologer is on the payroll, then religion and spirituality are being mocked and monetized. They are using sacred traditions as plot armor. It is the ultimate cynical move. They are selling the exoticism of Indian culture, the stars, the arranged marriages, the conservative values as a commodity. Sadhna is the guardian of this commodity. She creates the cultural friction that sells the show to Western audiences who crave that culture shock narrative. Think about the baby storyline. The idea that Sadhna wanted Sumit to have children, despite his age and Jenny's age. It was a biologically impossible demand designed to create maximum stress. It was cruel. But was it real, or was it just another impossible hurdle thrown onto the track because the marriage hurdle was getting stale? The writers, whether it's the family or the producers, needed a new conflict. Adoption became the buzzword. The way Sadhna shut it down was theatrical. Not my blood. It was a line delivered with such ferocity it felt like it belonged in a movie trailer. It was a soundbite designed for the coming up teaser. Real people discuss these things with nuance. Sadhna discusses them in headlines. We also need to consider the spin-off universe. Sumit and Jenny are now staples on Pillow Talk, Diaries, and every other iteration of the franchise. When they appear on Pillow Talk, watch Sadhna's absence. She is the ghost in the machine. They talk about her constantly. Mom did this, mom said that. Even when she isn't on screen, she is generating content. She has become a mythological figure in the 90-day universe. This doesn't happen by accident. This is branding. She is the Voldemort of the franchise. She doesn't need to show up to be the center of the story. The fear of her is enough. This suggests a level of strategic planning that goes far beyond a simple angry mom. She has positioned herself as the ultimate final boss. Now, let's look at the endgame. What happens when the cameras finally stop rolling? If the luxury property theory is true, we will see a miraculous reconciliation. The moment the final check clears and the series finale airs, Sadhna will likely have a change of heart. She will suddenly accept Jenny. Why? Because the job is done. The retirement fund is secured. They will release a statement saying, "Love conquers all," and they will retreat to their mansion in Gurgaon. The poverty, the filth, the struggle will vanish. We will see Instagram posts of them in a modern kitchen, cooking together, smiling. And the caption will read, "Family is everything," and we will feel good. We will feel like we went on a journey with them. But we didn't go on a journey. We were taken for a ride. There is a psychological term for what we are experiencing: parasocial interaction. We feel like we know them. We feel Jenny's pain. We feel Sumit's confusion. We hate Sadhna. But we are projecting these feelings onto avatars. The real Sadhna, the one who allegedly laughs with Jenny in the green room, is a stranger to us. We are mourning a tragedy that isn't happening. We are angry at a villain who doesn't exist. The Sadhna Script is a mirror. It reflects our own desire for drama, for clear-cut heroes and villains. We want Sadhna to be evil because it makes Jenny a saint. If Sadhna is just a nice lady acting mean for money, then Jenny is just a boring lady acting like a victim for money. And that is a pill most of the audience refuses to swallow. It ruins the fantasy. But the cracks are showing: the green room leak, the casting profiles, the financial rumors, the silence of the neighbors, the perfect camera blocking. It is all piling up. We are looking at a mountain of circumstantial evidence that points to one conclusion. This is a performance, a brilliant, sustained, profitable performance. Sadhna isn't losing control. She is in total control. She isn't shouting at Jenny. She is shouting at the bank teller to deposit the check. The tears aren't salty. They are golden. We have to ask ourselves, is this fraud or is it art? If an actor plays a role so convincingly that the world hates them, isn't that the definition of a great performance? Maybe Sadhna deserves an Emmy. Maybe she is the Meryl Streep of reality TV. She has committed to the bit for years. She has ruined her public reputation for the sake of the role. That takes dedication. Or is it a scam? Are they frauds swindling a network and an audience? Are they manipulating our emotions for cash? The line between entertainment and deception is blurry here. So here's the final question, the one that keeps me up at night. If the cameras disappeared tomorrow, would Sadhna still hate Jenny, or would they high five? The Sadhna Script suggests the latter. It suggests that the hatred is a uniform they put on for work. It suggests that the toxic family is actually the most functional, cooperative business unit on television. They are a team of con artists, or a team of entertainers. You decide. But before you click away, I need to know where you stand on the Sadhna Script. This is the ultimate litmus test for a 90-day fan. Based on everything we've uncovered, the casting calls, the secret trust fund, the green room leaks, the perfect camera angles, what is your verdict? Do you think Sadhna deserves an Oscar for the greatest performance in reality TV history? Or does she deserve a prison sentence for fraud? Is she a mastermind director or just a cruel mother? Hit the like button if you think the tears were fake. Smash that like button if you think we've been played. And let me know in the comments, is this a family feud or is it just a family business? Be honest. I'll be reading every single theory. And if you want more deep dives, more exposed secrets, and more truth bombs about your favorite reality shows, do not forget to subscribe and ring that bell. We are just scratching the surface of the reality lie. You don't want to miss the next investigation. Until then, keep your eyes open. The script is real, but the drama might just be acting.